What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune in and check out the content. Now, in this video, I want to be talking about the Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing situation, right? Because a lot of people are calling for Patrick Ewing to speak up on Charles Oakley's behalf, right? And I don't really agree that Patrick Ewing has to speak up on Charles Oakley's behalf, right? Because throughout Charles Oakley's career, he's always put himself in certain situations, and I don't really think that it's Patrick Ewing's responsibility to have to bail him out. You know, now if Patrick Ewing wanted to bail him out, then that's one thing. But sometimes you can give people advice, or maybe they're the kind of people you can give advice and say, look, man, I don't think you should do this, or I don't think you should say that, right? And Charles Oakley, being Charles Oakley, is going to say and do what he want to do. And so Patrick Ewing may feel like, all right, that's cool, do what you want to do. But then don't expect Patrick Ewing to have to get this guy out of situations when he continuously, as a grown man, put himself in these situations. Now, do I think what the Knicks did to Charles Oakley was right? No. I don't think the way they put him out of that stadium and barred him away from the stadium, I don't think that was, I just don't think that was cool. But I also don't think that it's Patrick Ewing's responsibility or any of the old school Knicks to step up. Like if they wanted to, that would be cool, try to make amends or make the situation better, then that would be cool, right? But I don't think it's their responsibility. So I was listening to The Odd Couple, and Rob Parker spoke on it, and he said some things that I kind of disagreed. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the audio from Odd Couple, and I'm gonna come back and give my reaction to some things that I disagree with Rob Parker on.
This message, hello, is this on?
It's
this
on.
message is for Patrick Ewing, John Starks, all the Knicks that are there, Latrell Sprewell,
Allen Houston,
all you guys. I'm dead serious. I'm talking to you guys. If you want this to be right for the Knicks, make people feel good about the entire thing, you got to go talk to your owner, James Dolan, and you have to make amends with Charles Oakley.
All right, let me stop it right there. I don't understand why they need to make amends for Charles Oakley, right? Now, the fans may want to see Charles Oakley because he's a Knick, fans might want to see him be a part of this situation. I think it's a good look because Charles Oakley did support the team. Like when you like the guys who are out there now, John Starks and Patrick Ewing and all those guys, most of those guys, until recently, you never really saw them come back, right? But now that the Knicks are having some success, you see these guys, but Charles Oakley was there the whole time. So on that thought of it, yeah, it's kind of sad to see Charles Oakley not be there at this time. But I don't know. It's just something that I feel like, Patrick Ewing don't necessarily have to. But if he did, that would be cool.
Dead serious. And I get it. Nobody wants to endanger their spot with the team and tickets and being around by speaking up. Charles Oakley was your brother, your teammate. And I'm not saying that Charles Oakley did everything right, but my man, come on, guys. He didn't deserve to get thrown out of Madison Square Garden like some dog.
Not like that. That was crazy.
It ain't right. I'm dead serious. You got to get these guys together for a powwow. How can Charles Oakley be on the outside looking in? It don't feel right. I told people the other day, a reason not to want to root for the Knicks is because of James Dolan. Because I can't unsee how they manhandled and treated Charles Oakley.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both of those guys, Calvin Washington and Rob Parker, right? I didn't, the way they did Charles Oakley, I thought wasn't wasn't cool. But Charles Oakley, I don't think he do himself any favors either when he go out and say that Patrick Ewing was never a leader. Um, and Patrick Ewing, some of the disparaging things he said about Patrick Ewing, and then, to expect Charles, Patrick Ewing to step up for him. I just think that feeds into more of what like Charles Oakley is kind of delusional if he think that Patrick Ewing is going to step up for him and speak up for him. But I do think also that that's probably the only way that Charles Oakley get back in, in the good graces or back into this, and be able to participate in the success that the Knicks is having, is if one of these old school Knicks, speak up for him and try to, bridge that gap that's between Charles Oakley and Dolan, right? And as far as his take on Dolan, like Rob Parker said about Dolan, Dolan is the owner of the team. So you can't bar Dolan or fire Dolan. So that's something that, it is what it is when it comes to James Dolan.
Was there. This is not some video that I saw. I'm talking about I covered the Knicks for the Daily News back when Charles Oakley was a player. Nobody gave more of their body and their heart and their sweat and their soul for the Knicks, diving into the crowd for loose balls, giving his effort, doing everything he could to help that team win. People used to always say, Patrick Ewing deserves to win a championship. And I agreed. But I used to say, don't forget Charles Oakley. He deserved a chance to win a championship as well. It ain't right. Come on.
I think all of those Knicks, all those guys that played on the team with Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, Patrick Ewing, all those guys, man, just gave everything. They just came up short. Those Knicks teams back when Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing played was good. They were really, really good, but they just came up short. All of those guys deserve a championship, but they didn't get it.
Man, he was your teammate for some of you guys. You have nothing but respect for Charles Oakley as a basketball player. People have differences. We saw Magic and Isaiah sit down and finally bury the hatchet. Make this feel good for everybody who loves the Knicks and wants to be a part of this championship. How in the world could Charles Oakley not be a part of this? How can you guys feel good to sit there knowing one of your brothers has been ostracized and kicked to the curb and treated illy? It ain't right. Patrick, John Starks, Allen Houston. I covered all you guys. I've known Allen Houston since he was a rookie in Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. You got to get James Dolan and
Now, my thing is, like I said, I think that if somebody spoke up on Charles Oakley's behalf, that probably would help out, right? Especially, like, let's just say, for instance, if it was Patrick Ewing or John Starks, like one of the more popular New York Knicks, maybe that would help, right? But then once you get Charles Oakley back in there, like, what is he going to say? Or, what else is he going to do to, to maybe piss somebody off? So I don't know why they're not stepping up for him, but I don't think, it's their responsibility.
Charles Oakley to bury the hatchet. Do you know what great that would feel for Knick fans if before everything you saw those two guys together and they said, you know what? We both were wrong. We both made a mistake. And Charles Oakley is a Knick for life and a part of the family.
Can I add some context to what you're saying?
Sure.
First of all, I applaud and commend what you're saying. Obviously I grew up outside of Detroit and I was a Pistons fan. And to think of like Isaiah, Bill Laimbeer and Rodman.
Can you imagine Bill Laimbeer being on an outcast?
When he's that version for the Pistons. Here's some things just to add a couple of context. So he was recently, shout out to Scoop B. He had a chance to talk to Oak. And this is what he said. He said, I've been to 2 games this year where John, Patrick, Allen Houston, Clyde, Walt Frazier, and they were all there. I was in Cleveland. These guys haven't spoken to me yet. In a game, they haven't spoken to me. I don't know what it is or what I did. I mean, playing 10 years in New York with Patrick, you come to Cleveland, you've been to my house 20-something times, and I'm at the game and you don't speak to me. There's something wrong with that. So, I'm thinking about it like a plantation over there. Is he running a plantation? So
is that heartbreaking? That's heartbreaking.
And you
Kelvin.
brought up something, Rob. I do think I don't know the personal interaction, but I do think there's something to I don't want to mess up the wave. I don't want to, everything's going good. I don't want to get kicked out. Because I told you yesterday, whatever day we did the whole thing about James Dolan, he's been known to keep people out, lawyers out, teenagers who say something bad on Twitter, come to the game, the electronic facial recognition,
and they pull them out of the crowd.
So I think the players are kind of like, I don't want to mess this boat up. But here's the thing. Everything you said, I completely understand. I agree. And the only thing I can think of, because I thought about this, is if the older guys don't want to mess up the younger, meaning this current teams, or I don't want to make a distraction. I don't want to make you guys are
I didn't say anything, pup.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, like the distraction part for this new era of Knicks basketball. I just don't think that, maybe they're not really all that close. And I don't know, like, if Patrick Ewing speaking up on behalf of Charles Oakley or Allen Houston speaking up on behalf of Charles Oakley or Starks, I don't know if that messed up their standing. I don't know. Like Charles Oakley just had to take some responsibility in this. I'm not saying that the guy Dolan is right, but like Charles Oakley kind of it almost sound a little bit in my opinion, almost like a little bit of entitlement there too, right? You don't have any control over what Charles Oakley say, and as a grown man, you shouldn't. So, like he need to be able to. Those are the consequences of I can see if Charles Oakley didn't say anything, he just sat there in the stands and they drug him out the way they drug him out. That's still wrong is wrong, right? But I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't feel like Patrick Ewing, I'm a big Patrick Ewing fan. I just don't feel like Patrick is really obligated to help this guy, Charles Oakley, out of his situation. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.